Good morning, Michael Masala in the morning. Homer's up next. Thank you to the Staggering Man for joining us. We're going to go all the way to the UK this morning and say good morning to Peter Davies. I think I got it right. Hello, Peter.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing fine. What's the weather like in London at this time?
Well, actually, I'm sat here in Porto, in Portugal.
Oh, you're in Portugal?
Not
wow.
bad. Yeah, that's right. These days you can work from anywhere. So I'm sat here talking to you in Portugal, and it's about 20 degrees, so it's pretty good, but I bet it's not as warm as it is in St. Lucia.
Well, no, it's not. It's pretty hot here. And my understanding, you're the global ambassador for Get Safe Online. And nowadays, when it comes to internet and safety online, that's been talked about a whole lot. And you represent Get Safe Online outside the UK. So tell us, what is Get Safe Online, Peter?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Mike. Yes, I'm very proud to represent Get Safe Online. We are a not-for-profit organisation, and what we do is we try and help people to get safe online. We do that through two main things. We run a website, which is a great reference point for people to go to ask questions, to identify how they can make themselves and their computers safer. And that website deals with all the different types of risks you might find online. And because some people don't necessarily go to a website that can still be vulnerable, we also reach out through PR campaigns, our radio interviews, and other things to make sure that people get the key message. And the reason why you and I are talking is because we brought this service to St. Lucia.
Wow.
If any of your listeners want to go online and tap in getsafeonline.lc, what they'll find is your very own St. Lucia version of our website, which we're very proud to have put together. They can go on there and get all the information they need about what kind of risks there might be and what they can do about them. And obviously, because some people won't be listening, hard to imagine, but I guess it's possible, we're also going to reach out with some other campaigns so that in St. Lucia and in a lot of other countries, people can be aware and can know how to protect themselves.
Well, when we say Get Safe Online, Peter, I mean, we're talking what? Child Exploration Online Protection Center? Because of lots happening online nowadays.
There's an awful lot happening online, and you hit on one of the things that maybe causes most concern, child exploitation. There are a whole host of risks, and I think most of us would feel most acutely about the risks posed to children and young people, particularly because the internet is so popular with them and they've got devices in their pockets, held in their hands, and there's no kind of supervision or control necessarily of what they do and where they go. So obviously that's a key point, but lots of other risks exist and other people need to be thought about as well. People can sometimes tragically lose a lot of money, maybe their life savings, or their businesses through being defrauded online. And so that's something to be thought about and protected against as well. The whole issue of how to stay safe online isn't simple. It's complex. It can be a little bit technical to the uninitiated. And it changes all the time because what would have protected you a year ago won't be quite enough to protect you now. So we have to be wary of making it too simple, but we do have to make it accessible to people. And I really have to repeat, the best thing people can do about this, whatever their perspective, however much time they spend on the internet, is just to go and take a look at the website and talk about it with their family and friends. And it's as easy as typing in getsafeonline.lc, and it's all there for people.
So you're targeting, of course, parents, I would think, mom and dad, of course, because they will be the ones to be informed so that they can regulate as to the use of the kids online.
Well, obviously that's the ideal. The truth of it is that certainly in the UK, and I guess in St. Lucia and elsewhere, it's a bit like the normal life with children and young people. We can do our best to guide them. We can do our best to put them on the right path. In certain circumstances, in a very limited way, we can maybe control their access to stuff that we think might be harmful. But sooner or later, we have to realize that what we can do is guide them on the right path, give them the best information, and to a little extent, as parents, hope for the best. And so it's important to have those conversations with kids But it's also important to realise that they're pretty resourceful. They're probably more capable of going online and operating online than we are. I speak as a member of a much older generation.
Right.
And so what we have to do sooner or later is give them the moral guidance and the understanding of what the issues are, not be afraid to talk to them about it, and make sure they've got the information so they make the right decisions for themselves.
But that's a very difficult task, Peter, because most of the kids now from 2, 3, or 4 seem to be more advanced than their parents when it comes to the internet.
Well, that's the truth of it, and that's the issue. And I can't tell you the number of times I've spoken to people in a lot of different countries who were brilliant parents and kind of knew it in every respect, but just felt they had this blind spot about online, but precisely because their kids knew more about it than they did,
Right.
and spoke a different language, and all of that. The best advice I can give to people in that circumstance is talk to your kids about it in the same way, because the principles are not that different.
Right.
Whether it's about experimenting with alcohol or relationships or other things, actually there's a lot more in common between parenting around those issues and parenting online than you might think. The principles aren't that different. But it's like all parenting. I'm not the world's greatest parent, and I wouldn't claim to be.
Right.
But it's about conversation and about not being afraid to talk to them about these things. The truth is, though, that 9 times out of 10, the child or young person will be more internet savvy than the parent, but they may not have the experience of life that the parent has, and they may be overconfident. And I can tell you there are a number of tragedies that have happened where children, young people were overconfident in what they were doing online,
Right.
didn't see the signs of problems, maybe got deceived, got tricked into something, and suffered as a result. And we're just desperately keen to avoid that kind of thing as best we can. And I'm sure parents, grandparents, adults of all kinds, teachers, everyone's trying to achieve the same thing.
How can Caribbean governments get involved? Because one of the sites that a number of kids tend to go on is YouTube, and they have access to that 24/7. And sometimes parents don't even know where they're searching or what they're doing. And in the Caribbean, for example, it's almost like a free-for-all when it comes to the internet.
Well, I think what you're describing is pretty much the same everywhere. There are different efforts to kind of control access to certain material, either through censorship or age verification or things like that. And I don't want to be a counsellor of despair,
Right.
but I don't know anywhere in the world where these efforts have been completely ineffective. And in kind of free societies, such as that enjoyed in the Caribbean, it's incredibly difficult to control people's access to this kind of information if they really want to find it. There are lots of ways in which governments can help by legislating properly, investing in public education and awareness, investing in regulation. And there are lots of examples across the Caribbean that I've seen that are good examples of this. What it boils down to, though, is at some point it becomes a matter of individual choice. And that's why actually getting back into that thing we were just talking about, Mike,
Right.
conversation, guidance, engagement, a recognition that this is a very different life that children and young people are leading compared to the life that their parents have led online.
Right.
All of that is going to be important, whatever else you can ask governments to do. And so that's why giving people a sound understanding of what the issues are, which they can get from our website, and making sure they have the confidence to talk about it and engage with it is so important to us.
I mean, your website is important. As you said, the engagement with the government ministry is also important because the whole thing about getting online too, there's the new thing about depression and mental health and what it creates, of course, to young students and young people on the whole.
Well, I mean, there is some evidence that, that social media can create some anxieties that people didn't have before, anxieties about appearance. It can be, I've always said that the internet can, in the wrong hands, it can amplify bad behavior. It can make it more easy to do some bad things with less likelihood of being caught and punished. And those are negative aspects of what the internet does. And we're all about trying to eliminate those while at the same time realizing that the future of the economy in the Caribbean and the future of people's social lives in the Caribbean, as elsewhere, is going to be online, whatever we think about it. And so, there are some mental health issues experienced by people, partly as a result of being online. But my honest view is that there is probably also some help out there online that people may not be able to access elsewhere. And it may be that some of those issues aren't caused by the internet, but may have been exacerbated or aggravated by it. All of this takes us back to people being aware of the kind of risks that they might take and managing their internet use and managing themselves so that they realize all the benefits that are there but don't run the risks. And, Mike, I know I'm being a bit repetitive, but if people go online to Get Safe on online.lc, they will see advice about anxiety, advice to young people about how to engage in a sensible way on social media. And we really want people to read it, access it, think about it and act accordingly so that they don't fall into some of those traps of which you're clearly very well aware.
And I mean, it's important for them as well. I mean, they're not just checking out the website for the kids, but themselves as well, because in this world of the internet, there's free access, and sometimes people get misguided. There's so much happens on the internet. There's the good and the bad as well, yes?
Well, absolutely. It's the good and the bad. There's a lot of good, but there's also plenty of bad.
Yes.
And ultimately, we're placing an awful lot of power into people's own hands, which way to go. The best we do as an organisation that Get Safe Online is try and give people the right information and enable them to make the right choices, knowing what the consequences will be of the wrong ones. But, Mike, I can't see you down the end of this line, but I'm guessing you're probably over 30. Would I be right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, in which case, you, like me, you couldn't describe yourself as a digital native. You're someone who may have become aware of the internet as it developed, as it evolved, and as availability in St. Lucia became freer and easier. But we have to recognise that Sorry, I beg your pardon. Over to you.
But the funny thing is that I was trained with the internet before I even got to that stage when I was in England many years ago when, of course, the computers first came about. So I've always been fascinated about tech. So I've always been in tech and, of course, learning all the revolution in terms of what happens where tech is concerned. And I have to thank the folks in England for giving me that opportunity because at my age, I don't think I would have been fascinated about what's going on in terms of the training I got in London.
Oh, well, that's great to know. But I would imagine that whenever you got that training, it's a bit like me. I've worked in and out of tech-related stuff for a while.
Right.
It's constantly new. It's constantly fresh.
Yes.
It's a very dynamic environment. So, well, whenever you got your training, you'll know that that the whole thing has moved on, and what's in the hands of children, young people, and of course adults now, is many times more powerful and far-reaching and able to enhance or limit their lives than what you would have seen then. And I feel the same way. And so it's important to make sure people have the best information, make sure people are up to date about the risks, and have the ability to make intelligent decisions for themselves. And of course, when it comes to children, young people, we want them to do that with the benefit of guidance from mentors, parents, the church, schools, whoever they choose to listen to. But sooner or later, they've got to make those decisions for themselves, as people do.
Wonderful. What's the website again to remind our listeners? They go to the website.
Oh, thank you. GetSafeOnline.lc. GetSafeOnline.lc. Please have a look. Tell your friends. Go to the website, learn something useful, and be safe, everybody. Thank you.
All right, Peter, we hope to see you in this part of the Caribbean. I'm not too sure you've been to this part.
Well, I've had the privilege of visiting St. Lucia twice in the course of the project. I would love to come again.
Okay.
The budget may not allow it. Actually, we've got a couple of colleagues of ours visiting St. Lucia right now, but that's more of a family visit and a holiday. And I'd like to, if they happen to be listening, I'd like to say hi to them and wish them a good trip. We would be only too happy to come out again, Mike. But in the meantime, it's a great pleasure, and thank you for giving us the time to talk to you and your listeners on air. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Peter. You have a good one, and of course, big of your friends and family, of course, and the folks in Portugal this morning. And we look forward to seeing you in St. Lucia pretty soon.
Thank you, sir. I look forward to it too.